have a quick question.
Yeah.
Short squeeze or covering that stock, that means that the shorters are selling the stocks that they don't own so they don't lose money?
They're buying the stocks that they already sold.
Yeah, so what they have to do, a short squeeze, means that it's really squeezing those that did the shorting. And so what they did is they sold the stock, believing that it was going to go down. And when it got down to a point where, okay, there's a potential for it to reverse to the upside, then they're getting out. They're squeezed because there was either good news or there were more bullish investors, and so it's called a squeeze, and it's squeezing out the short sellers, and so they have to buy back those shares that they sold, or otherwise they will lose a huge amount of money, because in order for them to borrow these shares, they have to have a margin account. So it's really, they're getting a loan to sell shares on the market that they don't own. And in addition to borrowing that money, it being a loan, they have to pay interest on that. So it's really, really critical to get out when you see the stock with the potentially turning to the upside. And so they are squeezed or forced to do that if they don't want to lose all their money in their account. And frankly, that can happen. I mean, okay, a great example is GameStop. If you guys recall, I don't know if you recall, but the hedge funds had been shorting GameStop, and they didn't have a chance to get out, and some of those hedge funds went bankrupt as a result, because they were doing their typical, hedge approach shorting. And so it can be extremely dangerous to do that.
Yeah, I think in that instance, there were so many hedge funds shorting GameStop because it's kind of a losing business. It's about to go bankrupt, and it makes sense to short it, that the stock was going to go down. But there was such a social movement, I think through Reddit, that people didn't want GameStop to go away, and so they encouraged so many people to buy into it. What happened, like if you bought the stock at say 100, or you're selling the stock at 100, you're expecting it to go down to like 80, but the social movement came in and everybody started buying. When people are buying, the stock is going to go up. So say the stock starts rising, all the people that then needed to cover had to start buying back in to make sure they weren't losing too much money. Well, there were so many of them, they all had to buy, and they kept buying and they kept buying and they kept buying to cover all of their short. And as they did that, it just kept pushing the stock up. So I think GameStop went from, I don't remember what the low was in that, like $10 or something, and it went up to 400 in.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, in like 2 or 3 days. I mean, it was crazy. And
so right, and people lost a lot of money because of that, and that was a short squeeze. That was massive, and they had no chance to get out in time. So if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will.
Yeah,
don't do it.
Yeah,
but we can benefit from those that do.
But it's good information to know, right? When a stock has very high shorting, somebody will have to buy those shares to cover that short.
Yeah.
And every time they buy, the stock will rise.
Yes.
So